Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Forgan, licensed school psychologist and associate professor here in Jupiter, Florida. And today I'd like to talk with you about how to help your child overcome his or her learning disabilities. See, I'm immersed in the field of learning disabilities. At the university, I teach people how to become teachers of kids with learning disabilities. In my private practice, I evaluate kids for learning disabilities. And at home, I have a child with a learning disability. So I understand this from the professional perspective and the parent perspective. And I'm here to help you also. I want to give you my 5 keys for helping your child overcome his or her learning disabilities. See, learning disabilities are presumed to be neurological. They're the way that you're wired. So overcoming them takes time. But there are ways to overcome them and minimize the effects of the learning disabilities. Ask any adult who has a learning disability, and he or she will probably tell you that there are still some residuals. Even if they have overcome it and they've learned to work around it, there's still those residuals. But I want to give you my 5 keys right now. So number 1 is using the right program. You need to use the right program with your child to help him or her overcome learning disabilities. And that's sometimes so hard because sometimes when your child's tested, you get lists and lists and lists and lists of recommendations, but they're all so general. What you need is somebody who can tell you what's the right program to use with my child. So if you haven't figured that out yet, contact me. I may be able to help you do a consultation or test your child and figure out what that right program is. Because that's the first key, is having the right program that's matched to your child's needs. You don't want to use the wrong program because you're wasting time. You may make some small gains, but it may not help your child overcome his or her learning differences. The second key is using the right tutor, teacher, or therapist. So you have to use that right tutor, teacher, or therapist with your child. See, that person needs to get your child. They have to have that rapport. And your child must need to work for that tutor. If it's not that right match, then your child's not going to want to work for the right tutor. I know my child had to go through many different tutors until we had that right program with the right tutor. And once that happened, the gains occurred. And they occurred relatively fast. So you need that right match. So you want your child to work within what's called the zone of proximal development. Zone of proximal development. So let's say this is where your child can work on his or her own. But if your child is working with the right tutor using that right program, your child can work all the way up at this level. So this area in between is that zone of proximal development, the optimal level where you want your child to be working. And so that right tutor can take your child to that height. And that's what you want. You want the right tutor to be able to bring your child to this level and then keep it going over the right amount of time. And that brings us to the next point. You need to use the right program with the right tutor for the right amount of time. And usually what I recommend to parents is that you stick with it for at least 18 to 36 months. So a year and a half to 3 years is what it's going to take to help your child overcome his or her learning disabilities with that right program and right tutor or teacher or therapist. So that's at minimum twice a week doing this. And I know you're thinking, oh my goodness, twice a week for a year and a half to 3 years. That's going to cost me a lot of money. And you're absolutely right. It does cost a lot of money. I know that from being a parent who's done that with my own child. But it's an investment in your child's future. And not only in your child's future, but your grandchildren's future also. Because your child is going to presumably have their own kids someday. And you want your child to be that independent, responsible, and self-sufficient adult who can support his child and family. So it's an investment in your child and in future generations to come. So it's definitely worthwhile. And as you're making those payments to the tutor or therapist, just know that it is going to be a great investment and a good return on your money. Then, the fourth point is you need to do this at the right age. Now, it's better and more effective if you start at a younger age, in kindergarten, early elementary school, or even later elementary. The elementary years are the optimal years to do this tutoring, therapy, and teaching for the 18 to 36 months. If your child's in middle school or high school and you found out they have a learning disability, it can still be overcome, but it takes longer and it takes more time and effort. So not just twice a week, but 3-4 times a week. So the earlier you figure this out, get your child tested, figure out the right program, find the right tutor, and start, the better the outcome is going to be for your child to overcome his or her learning disabilities. And the fifth thing is that your child needs to have the right attitude. Let's face it, your child is one of the primary points in this equation. If your child doesn't have the right attitude for going into the tutoring, therapy, and teaching, and doing his or her best, putting forth effort, and really working hard, then the outcome is going to take longer and it may not be as bright. See, I know that from my own child who has a learning disability, that my wife and I had to work really hard to help maintain that positive attitude. We had to use rewards. So after every couple of tutoring sessions, we would have a reward. It may have been something as simple as going for ice cream after it. It may have been a tangible thing like a toy. It may have been an event like a sleepover or picking the right restaurant for dinner that my child loved. So those things help maintain that attitude. And then hopefully your child's getting the internal reinforcement. Because if you're using the right program, the right tutor, and the right length of time, your child should see the improvements. And that's going to really motivate them, right? I mean, think about it. Your child starts to make progress. They start to be able to read or do math better or get their ideas on paper better. They're going to think, wow, this is great. I'm really making progress. And that's going to help him or her keep that right attitude. So it takes work. It's definitely something that takes time, but you're an advocate. You're your child's best advocate. And you're watching this, you're investing, you're learning. And that's what it's going to take to help your child overcome his or her learning disabilities. It's not easy. I know. I'm doing it and have done it myself in my own family.